Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or whenever you may be tuning in to the Growing Our Future podcast. Here we are again. We got another great guest with insights, experiences, and expertise to grow us all personally and professionally. So today we're joined by Meagan McCoy Jones. And I want to tell you, I have enjoyed working with this company and this lady for almost 20 years. We have a great working relationship. We got companies that have paralleling core values. And Meagan, we're honored to have you join us today.
Thanks so much, Aaron. This is a treat for me. So thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited. Meagan, I start every one of these off the same way. And so if you don't mind, we'd like to start this podcast off once again in the traditional manner of asking our guest, Meagan, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, man. I have a long list. Particularly today, I'm grateful for awesome parents. We're sort of on the eve of my dad's retirement. He's our CEO, has served the company for 50 years. He's retiring in a couple of weeks. And I am thankful to have parents to live up to, not in spite of.
Wow. Well, that's powerful right there.
Well, I won the parent lottery, I think.
You know, one of our board members, and we talk about this throughout these podcasts, but one of our board members is Tom Ziegler, the son of Zig Ziglar. And he's always fond of saying, we're all going to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
We're either going to leave it by design or by default. And when you said what you just did about your incredible family and the legacy, it's been by design. And that's beautiful. And the fact that you're picking it up and you're running with it and you're living it it's just incredible.
Well, we're gonna find out how we and the team do, but I think what I am grateful for is you don't have to live perfectly to have a great legacy. You just have to have you have to have a lot of things, but you have to have at least enough self-awareness to find your way to apologies every week and then try to do better. So, that gives me a lot of security that it doesn't have to be perfect.
You're jumping right into our topic.
Oh man, I didn't mean to rush it.
That's good stuff. Because, admitting a mistake and a little bit of vulnerability, I think is a sign of a good leader.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's back up real quick.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your path to ultimately, I know that you will assume probably the role of CEO there.
That's right. Yeah.
Take us through the story of McCoy's. Take us through your journey to your leadership role and how you got there.
Yeah, well, we've been around over 95 years, so I'll speed up the first part of the story. But my great-grandfather got us in business in Galveston in 1927. His son, my grandfather Emmett, was really kind of the entrepreneur, greatest generation, extraordinary man. He and my grandmother, who is still living, by the way, she's 97 and amazing. They really grew the business with this eye towards bringing a lot of value to Texans and then beyond, ultimately, in building products. How do you get great products, stack it high, sell it at a value, serve customers well? And that's what grew our business in sort of this traditional lumberyard format, also with kind of a hardware store type feel on the inside. But really that business grew all through the 70s, 80s, 90s. Then we got, like a lot of businesses, when Home Depot and Lowe's and big box retailers who are just very, very good at what they do, when they came into our markets in the 90s, we were an all retail business and we were out retailed. And so we retooled our business plan in those years. And that was pretty chaotic, candidly, for a while. But that meant starting to serve folks building homes, new home construction. We serve a whole bunch of tradespeople. That could be folks who are plumbers, electricians, the farm and ranch community, tons of people in there, but also folks, they're new kitchen remodels and industrial clients, cities and counties, all kinds of things in there. And then we still serve retail customers. You're walking in needing air filters or needing a repair on your siding, or you want to tackle a kitchen project, whatever it is. Those are our customers. We took some time to retool our business plan And then that has steadily allowed us to grow. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good. I like to say, I think we're both right now, because of course, the state of Texas in particular is just so attractive to so many people. And that means that our home builder customers and contractors and homeowners and farm and ranchers and just community members are getting a chance to also grow their own businesses. We're getting to serve them in doing that. I started with McCoy's at 10 years old as a receptionist back before the days of email or voicemail. And I got paid $1 an hour cash out of my dad's billfold. And I love every minute of it. I think I worked nearly every summer from the time I was 10 on. A couple summers I didn't, but I'll tell you one I didn't because I was violating the company dress code policy. I was in college. I pierced my nose and that wasn't allowed. And so Dad very sweetly said, you can either take it out or do something else this summer. So I did something else, but I've since moved on from that phase of life. But I came up through a bunch of departments and headquarters. I worked in store operations and store management back at headquarters. And the gift among many, the team at McCoy's has given me is a chance to learn from a whole bunch of people with a lot of grace, a lot of room to make some pretty big mistakes, which I've done. And now a chance to grow and lead with a team, what I think is really a very special organization that has some to do with me, but has a lot more to do with a whole bunch of McCoy's people who, one transaction at a time, leave the world better than they found it.
Well, for those that are listening and watching and you wonder about this relationship with McCoy's, Meagan just said it perfectly why I was so attracted, and I sought him out because when I watched in action the core values of this company, and I thought about our students and our teachers, these are not hard fits. I mean, these are the kind of relationships you want because they're easy. And I really admired just about that entire story, Meagan. It's grounded in values. It's grounded in hard work. It's grounded in innovation. It's grounded with a passion for excellence, that we're not satisfied, that we know needs are going to change.
Right.
And resiliency. And then,
yeah, a word I've used a lot lately is we have to be relevant. We're a business that serves customers. If we aren't relevant to our customers, they don't owe us anything. We have to prove our value. And of course, every year and decade changes what it takes to be relevant. And we say at McCoy's, in fact, it's sitting up on a little sign right next to a little Lego house in my office my son built when he was little. We say our purpose at McCoy's when we're at our best is to make life easier and more fulfilling for those who build. Now that could be building homes, it could be building communities, it could be building ranches, it could be building other investments. But making life easier is proving your relevance. Making life more fulfilling is leaving things and relationships better than you found them. And, I think that's the little corner of the earth we've been given to make better. And we don't knock it out of the park every day, but I think we're on we're trying to trend in the right direction.
Okay. So I got to tell you, everybody that knows me knows that there's 2 or 3 things that I'm pretty fond of saying. Number one of them is live your brand.
Yeah.
Live your brand.
Right.
And number 2, if you want to know what the future is, grow it.
I love it.
And I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking, okay, McCoy's has got another good one here. If you want to know what the future is, build it.
I like it. I know. That's it. Well, let me just say about, live your brand. My dad has said this in a lot of different settings. We're all working on trying to be the same person in every setting, no matter what, right? So when you feel in yourself that you can't be the same person, at your kid's sporting event as you would be leading your team meeting, well, you have an inconsistency there in kind of who you are depending on the crowd. And that's worth getting a little introspective about and going, okay, well, why is that? And he does that better than any human I've ever met, actually. He's the same no matter what. But I think that is a quality in great leaders that is just so attractive, to be the same person no matter what. And, we're working on that. That takes some equipping. How do I deal with the things churning inside of me in any given setting so that I'm not, saying things I regret? Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. I think living your brand, whatever that is, boy, that's such a good litmus test for integrity and inside yourself.
Well, and you alluded to it a while ago too. Living your brand doesn't mean it's mistake free.
Right. Of course not.
Living your brand means that you are resilient, that you do learn from those things, that you open your eyes for opportunities, that you reach out and build relationships.
That's right.
It's all of these things that become live your brand.
Yeah. And it's just more fulfilling. It's definitely more joyful, to be doing something and acting in a way that you're proud of.
Well, I like it because every time I talk to you or your dad, we're never unhappy. We're always talking about something that excites us, that we're passionate about.
That's right.
We want to see great things come about. And like you said, build a better future, to leave things better than the way we found them.
I think that's right. The world needs more examples of that, of common ground and, mutual compassion. And for whatever reason, we're trying to do that in the context of a lumberyard.
You're doing it, by the way.
Thank you.
One of the things every summer, we take our teachers on a lead experience, and we take 36 teachers on a bus, and they'll be on a bus for a week. We'll visit about 15 locations. They'll go about 1,000 miles. They'll hear from about 70 speakers. But one of the things I always tell them, I said, when we pull up to a location, I want you to go inside. I want you to look around at what's on the walls. I want you to talk to the employees. And then when we get back on the bus, I always ask them, what does this company believe? Did you hear what they say they believe? And do you believe that they're who they say they are?
Ooh, that's good.
And I can tell you, without exception, our visits to McCoy's, the teachers get back on the bus and they said, that was everything you just said. Their values and what they believe are seen throughout the company, even in the employee spaces. They talk to everybody. They hear the same messaging. They look at advertisements. They look at what you support. They look at all the awards out there in your lobby. They look at all of that and they get back on the bus and go, yep, they believe what they say.
Well, that's kind. That doesn't just happen. I do think the more success we find, I'll speak just personally, the more I can get tempted into, the pride of success, or even just in really subtle ways. I can catch myself thinking like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. And boy, there's just nothing that productive that comes from that ticker tape. But it's amazing to me. I use this analogy of, you have a stock ticker. I think everybody has a little ticker tape running through their head throughout the day, and it's got messages on it. Some of them are really helpful and some of them are flat out lies. And then some of them are things you need to actively kick off the tape. And, I'm trying to monitor, like, what is my ticker tape throughout the day? Is it, oh man, I'm so grateful and appreciative of the things I see. There's really beautiful and wonderful stuff happening. Is it balanced with, we're not perfect. How do we get better? How do I notice things that our team has done and then circle back with them specifically and thank them for it? And then there are some lies on there like, oh man, success is false. Failure's right around the corner. I think those are lies that really can cripple us too as leaders and are worth kicking off the ticker tape. But that analogy's been really helpful for me. I don't know, actually, you wish you could see into people's minds and kind of get a sense of what's it like in there. Maybe I'm the only one that's like that. And I'm revealing there's a lot of busyness in there, but I'm trying to channel it for good. Some days are better than others.
That's why I like talking to Meagan, because we think we have these ideas. I've always said it's like if you had a little flag that you could stick in your head.
Yeah.
And you could see how many people are taking up space. Some people would look like chia pets because they would have so many.
Right. This is all, man, why are you up in there? Yeah.
Meagan, let's jump over a little bit and let's talk about, the fact that we've got a good working relationship, got a great company in McCoy's. We'd love to see our students graduate from high school, go to college, or go into the workspace and find those opportunities at companies like McCoy's. But when it comes to y'all's support of ag science education, the FFA, what is it that you see there that y'all found value in as a company that you thought that was worth making the investment in?
I have tremendous respect for people who obligate themselves to long-term good things. And that can be folks who go, you know what, this marriage is hard, but I'm sticking with it. Or this child is difficult, but I'm not giving up on them. Or land stewardship is valuable and I want to contribute to it. So that's what I would say anchored first our relationship with Texas FFA was there is a mutual understanding that we are both working for things that will outlast us. And if we are at our best doing it, it will be better. That's human relationships and the natural world both. So I think that's really where it started. And we know, from our own experience, but also just knowing our communities where we operate and serve, that particularly I think the agricultural community is a loyal community. And so, we want to build relationships with that community early and have those be meaningful. And we need to learn from that community sooner than later, because boy, the ripple effect on our well-being as a state and as a country is substantial.
For those that are listening and watching, McCoy's was really one of our early sponsors, and we have maintained this incredible relationship over the years. Our students and our teachers love visiting with the McCoy's reps at the conventions and the teachers conference. Everybody's gotten to know everybody.
Right.
They're on a first name basis. And I can tell you, Meagan, one of the things that I always appreciate from our ambassador kids, who are the kids that serve our sponsor at convention, they always meet y'all and they always come back and they say, Mr. Alejandro, those people really care about us. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, we thought they just wrote checks. And I'm like, no, they really do. They believe in you. They want to see you succeed. That's the reason they're here.
That's right. And what I love about FFA students, which I see over and over, first of all, they're kids, right? They're having fun and they goof off when they are supposed to goof off. But when it's time to get yourself together, they're together. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've met a lazy one yet. So, the value of, boy, I'm going to tell you, Aaron, I am not the smartest person in the room ever. And I am for sure, every one of my teammates is smarter than I am, but there is zero substitution for being a hard worker. And I think hard work, I bet you're this way too, right? After a really hardworking day, you feel good about going to sleep exhausted. It's a good feeling. But the discipline of hard work is a discipline like anything else. It's like getting up early or, deciding what you're going to eat or committing to exercise or walking outside every day so that you can take in, the beauty of creation. I think the discipline of hard work is in fact a discipline. And I do not know an organization that does that as consistently as FFA. It's impressive. And you give kids a lot of responsibility. We were all kids with a lot of responsibility, way younger than we had earned it. But that's how you earn it, is you get it, you mess it up, you get advice and coaching, and then you get back, in the direction that you want. And so y'all don't shy away from giving really young people a lot of responsibility, which I think is how we have a strong future.
Well, I could just cut us off right there, but I'm not. That right there was great. I think about my time growing up at Boys Ranch as a 14-year-old kid, so from age 14 to 18, and I think about all of the jobs that I had, adult jobs on the hog farm, in the slaughterhouse, in the feedlots, bucking hay, in the dairy barn.
Right.
When I think of all of the things I did, I had a job to do. I was responsible for that.
That's right.
I was accountable for that. When I had a problem, I had to find critical thinking skills to solve it and to communicate with people. And I agree with you, Meagan, when we can put our kids in those kind of positions,
right,
to give them really strong skills and foundations as young people, I believe they do carry those into the future. I do believe they carry them into their jobs and into their families. And those are skills that can grow, because
Right.
once they learn how to do it, they can keep learning how to do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big learnings for me, different now to be a parent. And so my perspective as my kids have been growing up, it just evolves. But there is a difference between somebody or something is relying on you. That is that obligation that I think is really important. And then when you let it down, how do you learn from that? Not just get beat up for it. There has to be enough room, and whoever is your mentor, teammate, or whatever to go, not get to anger, but to get to like genuine disappointment and then compassion. Hey, you let me down. Or like, the dog didn't eat today. He's starving. That can't happen again. And really let somebody, even really, really young kids, I think, feel that sense of, hey, horses didn't get watered today. That's bad. Stuff didn't get done today and people are counting on you. And how do we fix that? What went wrong? Not just anger and explosion. Not sure that can be effective, but I don't think it's as positively effective long-term.
You have just articulated the proverbial coach leader. And that was really good, by the way.
Oh, well, thanks. I've done that dog one before.
So real quick, let's talk about the students who may be watching, and the teachers and stakeholders, et cetera. But in particular, let's focus on kids. Meagan, what might be 3 leadership skills that you would share with them that you would say, listen, there's a lot that you can choose from, but I may reflect on these 3 and tell you, put these in your game plan.
Okay, the first 2 are really easy for me. The first one is to tell the truth no matter what. If you're a person who tells the truth all the time, it's impossible not to be your fan. You communicate a lot of security for people. You will inevitably have to apologize and admit that you've made a mistake. I've heard my dad say this. He never saw his father stretch the truth. I've never seen my father do that. That's an extraordinary thing. And that starts in little ways, really, really young, knowing, hey, telling the truth really matters. The second one is to be prepared. And this is easier now than ever before, because if I were interviewing with a company today, or I was looking for an internship, or I was just going to meet somebody who I've never met before, you're just like a few internet searches away from learning something about them and showing up prepared. And it may not be obvious, but I'm sort of an unlikely lumberyard person. I'm like 5'1". I weigh about 100 pounds. I'm not going to outwork you, unfortunately. And in my line of work, that's really how classically you earned your way to respect was, I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to pull more loads than you. I'm going to work more hours than you. Now I'm a hard worker, but I'm not the fastest load puller. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that. But what it meant is, boy, I'm working hard to always be the most prepared for every meeting, appointment, new introduction, customer interaction, vendor negotiation, whatever it is, because I don't want to waste your time. And I know that being prepared is a strength. And, Aaron, a lot of people just don't want to do the work. It's not hard work. It's getting prepared is blue collar work. You just have to put in the time.
It's white collar too.
Yeah, it's all of it. That's right.
Bottom line, you hit the nail on the head. It is hard work. I don't care where you apply it, but go ahead.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. And I don't think if you're winging it, you'd be better to call that person and say, I am so sorry. I'm not prepared for our time today. Could we reschedule? That would take you a lot further than showing up and trying to wing it. So tell the truth, be prepared. And, my third is probably, I could say this a bunch of different ways, but I suppose the simplest way to say it is what you say and do towards other people is consequential. So be thoughtful about what you say and do.
Golden rule.
How you treat people. Right. To me, I think where I was hesitating was, it's important to me personally to understand, like, why am I here? Even in like a big zoomed out grand scheme, what's the point of life kind of way. But that's a big philosophical question maybe for middle school and high school students to be wrestling through, though I'm sure many of them are. If you're treating people with respect all the time, your wake is really lovely. There's no reason not to. Now I've kind of a hot temper, which I've worked to mature over time. And I have not always done that well. I've really lost my cool with people and had to circle back and apologize. I've had some mentors who have really given me a ton of grace, more than I earned, to pave a way for me, like to go ahead of me and say, look, y'all, give her another shot. She's ready to apologize. I mean, what a gift, I like to think it's the flip side of the I'm very passionate coin is sort of a tendency to ramp up a little too fast, but our strengths really are also our weaknesses. So understanding how one can be both, I think, is helpful.
That is really good stuff. I guess when I hear people, Meagan, when I hear people speak, I tell the kids, when you go to workshops, practice the R2A2 concept. Recognize, relate, assimilate, and apply. So when I listen to people speak, I'm always recognizing what they say. I'm trying to relate to it. How can I assimilate that? How can I apply it? So when I listen to your journey and I listen to your mentor journey and I listen to the tips on leadership and the things that people have poured into you to live your brand, what you just shared, those last 3 leadership tips, to me, they are seen in everything that you just shared. This entire interview was everything you just shared. Maybe to bring it to a contemporary standpoint, I was talking with Mr. Ziegler the other day, and we were talking about the greatest American generation.
Yeah.
And since you brought that up, we said, is it that they were the greatest American generation, or was it because their parents lived through World War I? They lived through the Great Depression, and they taught those kids not to be fragile and to be resilient. Those kids went off to war, and they came back and look at the wealth and the opportunities they created in this country. And when I think about what our kids have just witnessed from us coming through the pandemic, as I wonder if we've not given our kids the skill set to be that next greatest American generation.
Yeah. Aaron, the one other characteristic of that generation I think about a lot, it was impossible for them to ignore that we are inextricably linked to each other. Yeah. So however, right, I need you. I am relying on you. And that is always true, whether we see it or not. Your little reality, or I'm impatient with, well, this was a self-made person. I mean, just nobody's self-made. That's just not how it works. We need each other. And I think that's been a thing I've reflected on a lot about that generation, especially reading that history, that it didn't matter where you came from, what part of the country you came from, what your parents did, what job you had, how much money you were going to make in the next 20 years. You're inextricably linked to each other. We probably need more of those reminders. And I don't have to agree with everything to be your friend. I just don't.
Exactly.
In fact, thank goodness I don't. That would be very boring, a world of me's,
My dad was the greatest American generation. And when I looked at his discharge papers, because I didn't know a lot about my dad, he died when I was 10.
Yeah.
But when I looked at my dad's discharge papers, I found out that my dad, before he went into the service, he was a farm worker. He worked in the fields.
Wow.
And he used the GI Bill to improve himself.
Incredible.
And so I tell people, my dad was working in the fields then. I get to work in the fields today. They just look a little bit different.
That's exactly right.
To your point, though, Meagan, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have people that gave me opportunities and believed in me and shared that grace that you talked about.
Right.
And when I look at your accomplished career, I mean, you're a mentor to me. You're a mentor to many because of the example that you share and your willingness to share and to be out there and to let us have these opportunities to engage with you and your dad. I'm a big Brian McCoy fan. Everybody that knows me knows I am a Brian McCoy fan.
Me too.
Anyway, Meagan, I really appreciate your time today. This was, as always, I enjoy the chance to visit with Meagan McCoy Jones and anybody from the McCoy's team. And and to hear Brian talk about his trips to Africa. And I just love the McCoy's family, the McCoy's brand. And thank you for sharing some of your time with us today, Meagan.
Well, thanks, Aaron. Look, I have to tell you, I think our brand means something, but it means something because, 3,000 people put their name tag on today and went to work to care about other folks. So I'm just so proud of our team and the way they care about others, one interaction at a time. And y'all do the very same thing. And we just have a ton of respect for FFA and the mission and the work. So thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Meagan, I wrap up all of these interviews with a fun question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready for your fun question?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Okay, let me think about this. I saw George Strait when I was in middle school. Got to go with a classmate, and we got to meet him backstage. And I thought, man, he's the real deal. I still think he's the real deal. That was pretty darn fun. It wasn't probably the loudest concert I attended, but it was the one that left a big impression on me.
Well, we're pretty proud of George Strait. He's a former Texas FFA member. He competed in the talent competition at convention, and he actually went right there in San Marcos. He went to Texas State.
He did. That's right.
To be an ag teacher.
That's right. That's right. Did he win the talent competition, Aaron?
No, he did not. And the other side of that too that's funny is Don Knox was his professor there at Texas State. And the funny story that we hear is when he told him, George, you need to put that guitar down. It's never going to take you anywhere. And so,
yeah, that probably was good advice in a lot of cases, but I'm glad he didn't listen to it.
Well, Meagan, thank you again for joining us today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Growing Our Future podcast. As you heard several times today, we believe that if you want to know what the future is, you got to grow it. That means you have to plant seeds of greatness. And all of these virtues that you heard from Meagan and all of our guests are things that if nurtured and tended to, they will make our lives better, both on a personal and professional basis. So again, Meagan, thank you for joining us. Thank everybody for tuning in. And until next time, go out there and do something great. Thank you.